Hey, welcome back. This is John Rickgarn, your host, as always, of the Wealth and Freedom Nexus podcast. And today I wanted to do another country spotlight, if you will. If you recall, a couple of episodes before, I had a country spotlight, if you will, on the country of Belize. You may have remembered Rachel Jensen. She joined us for actually my inaugural episode, episode 1, as well as 18, when she was with ECI Development and talked some of the pros and cons of, shall we say, expat and digital nomad life, and even just kind of diversifying, so to speak, your life, your lifestyle assets, not just in your home country, which if you're like me, you're in the United States of America. Now, if you recall, and I got to look myself, that was episode 44. This was actually on the country of Belize. Yeah, episode number 44. That was kind of my first country spot or new country spotlight, the country of Belize that I visited in 2021. And this will actually probably be one of a number of episodes that I will have on this country, which is Nicaragua. Now, there might be a lot of perceptions out there, especially, if you're around, my age, or Gen Z, of the, shall we say, some of the political strife in the, what was it, the 70s, 80s. You might remember like the Iran-Contra Affair, and as well as some, political history. But, to be fair, I think every country has that. So I kind of just wanted to, do a first of many episodes to highlight Nicaragua. This is actually a country that I would say is in my top ones that I'm currently looking at for a number of reasons. And actually, I'm going to back up here a second. If you remember episode 36, where Aundrea from Get Rich Education was on, at the time of this recording, she actually purchased and is having a tiny home vacation rental built on the Pacific coast through ECI Development. So I'm anxious to hear about how that goes. I think she said it was set to be completed early 2023. And I myself have not visited Nicaragua yet. That is definitely on my docket for the near future. Kind of big into touristy areas, obviously lower cost of living. I like access to the beach, not a huge surfer or anything like that, which ironically, Nicaragua is known for quite a bit for the surfing community. And that's where a lot of tourists, or why a lot of tourists go there, is for the surfing. Now, kind of a holistic view, I've mentioned a few times in my podcast, as well as my newsletter, my YouTube videos, that I am very much a plan B kind of person. What if something happens? What if I needed another place to go? What if I needed to have some of my assets or, another second, passport or a residency? And, there's plenty of options out there. You might have heard of like a citizenship by investment. These are kind of catered towards, or I should say centralized to the Caribbean islands, where you can plunk down 100,000, 150,000, 250,000, or even higher, buy a property, invest in the country, invest in a fund, and congratulations, then you are an official resident or citizen of whatever, St. Martin's or Belize or Turkey or whatnot. And Nicaragua is actually one that's pretty easy to get residency with a fairly low commitment to get the residency in there. I myself have actually invested through ECI Development on a teak parcel. That is actually through my self-directed account through a specialized trust, which has also been a guest and sponsor of the show numerous times before. But I have actually looked at possibly investing either, another teak parcel or tiny home from ECI Development, or maybe just, condo of some sort. But like I said, I always kind of like to visit the place first, kind of check out the area, the culture, cost of living, etc. Now, this is just for me personally. Everyone's, views are different. Some people love the mountains. Some people I know like to snowboard or snowmobile. So everyone's different. But for me, I've always wanted to look at getting a residency and a second place outside the United States. So obviously, I want it to be a place that I would like to personally visit. Now, for instance, some places kind of pitch investments in, I don't know, I'll just mention various areas from Turkey to Morocco to Egypt to Portugal to Spain. And again, I haven't been to all those places necessarily, but I want to make sure that it's someplace that I would like to visit anyways, kind of as a dual investment, but also a vacation home, condo, second residency, etc. Personally, my wife and I both love the beach. We've been to, let's see, Dominican Republic, we've been to Mexico, we've been to Cuba, even Bahamas, and Puerto Rico, we've been to a number of times. So we've always liked the beach and always thought, it would be nice to have a place, even walking distance to the beach. Sometimes beachfront property, especially if you're in the United States, can be extremely expensive. But, in some foreign places, it can be a little bit more affordable, shall we say. Again, not necessarily right on the beach, but close to a beach. With that said, I also am kind of not a fan of hurricanes and major storms, or would like to, keep the hurricanes and major tropical storms to a minimum. Now, interesting thing with Nicaragua, typically where they're at, and my guest today will get into this a little bit, is that the hurricane season tends to be a little bit on the low side. There isn't a lot of hurricanes on the Pacific side as there is on the Atlantic, and it isn't on the farther northern hemisphere or even southern hemisphere where you hear about more storm activity. Like if you're in the United States like me, every single year like clockwork, Florida, or specifically eastern Florida especially, gets hit. I also want to look for a place low cost of living. Now, for instance, depending where you're in the US, that might be high. But I'll just mention one of the most expensive places to live is Hong Kong or London. Not exactly low cost of living, but Nicaragua definitely is. Safety and friendliness of the people. Again, there's a lot of discrepancies between perception and reality. A lot of stats actually show Nicaragua is one of the safest countries in Central America, especially compared to, say, El Salvador or Honduras, just to name a couple examples. And, elsewhere in the world, Yemen, for instance, isn't exactly, a tourist hotspot. And if I was to, get all those boxes checked and say, yep, I want to have a property in whatever country it is, would like to visit there, maybe it leads to residency options, maybe, a good place to visit, has a nice culture. That property that I want to be able to have it easy to rent. And I tend to be a little conservative on my projections, especially for short-term rentals, that I would always look for that if it's rented 33% of the time, or one day out of, basically one day out of every 3 or every 4 of the calendar year, that would be the occupancy for break even. That would be the break even to cover all the expenses. So that's kind of another thing. And again, Nicaragua seems to kind of check off a lot of these boxes. Year-round climate, this place is very nice. Couple interesting facts, I should say. Over 6,000 currently American expats and retirees live in Nicaragua. So this is not a new place at all. 76% of Nicaragua's energy comes from renewable resources. So if you're into the sustainability aspect, wanting renewable resources, green energy, definitely Nicaragua is leading that charge. Growing tourism industry, top cities in the area: San Juan del Sur, Granada, Corn Islands, Leon, Managua, and I might mispronounce this, Messiah, I believe. Like I mentioned, easier residency options, not as easy on the citizenship options, but that's a topic for another discussion. Nicaragua, like I said, is a large country. You actually have coastlines for both the Pacific and the Atlantic Ocean. A number of beaches, I believe 24 volcanoes, lakes, rivers, lagoons, rainforest. If you're into nature, want to go on some nature walks and see some scenery and everything. And I could probably go on and on, but I want to keep this short today. Interesting fact. You might be asking, well, who in the world owns property in Nicaragua? Well, if you're an old-time wrestling fan like me, you may have remembered former WWE wrestler or diva Lita. She's actually a big surfer, and she owns a property in Nicaragua. Now, I don't know her address, so please don't email me or message me like, oh, Lita, what's her address? Like, what's her cell phone? Blah, 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 blah. It's like, I don't know. I just know she owns property in Nicaragua. So just a interesting fact that I wanted to share out there. So anyways, I'll keep this intro short, and really anxious to bring on my guest, who's actually a real estate agent, originally from the United States, but then moved to Nicaragua a number of years ago, has absolutely loved it. She has made a great life and a great lifestyle for her, and wanted to actually talk to someone that has firsthand experience in the country and how they're doing and what they like about it. So with that, I'll bring on our guest, Natalie Sullivan, after a word from these sponsors. Buying rental homes are one thing, but buying older homes could bring more headaches for a new real estate investor. Outdated wiring, cracking foundations, and hazardous materials like asbestos are not things a beginning investor should have to deal with nor worry about. Why not start with a brand new construction home in one of the fastest growing areas in the U.S., Central Florida? Wagner Nolasco and his team, Build to Rent, have over 3,000 homes in various stages of development and work only with real estate investors. Their new homes feature tenant resilient amenities like vinyl floor plank, lower insurance premiums than older homes, and possibly even very low property taxes for the first year or two. To find out more and learn how this is all possible, go to buildtorentdirect.com or text 407-927-5074. That's build the number 2 rentdirect.com.
Are you tired of trying to keep ahead in the rat race, only to have so much of your hard-earned money going to the tax collector? Equity doesn't pay the bills. Retirement savings don't pay you now, and there are only 24 hours in a day to work. The only solution is passive income that pays you 24/7 now, not 40 years from now. From vetted investment opportunities to tax saving strategies, let John guide you through all the confusion and take control of your financial life in pursuit of financial freedom. So sit back, relax, and welcome to the Wealth and Freedom Nexus.
Natalie, thanks for coming on the show.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
You bet. And whereabouts in Nicaragua are you currently joining us from?
I am in San Juan del Sur, Nicaragua, which is on the southwest coast of Nicaragua, half an hour north from the Costa Rican border. So,
okay. And as I recall, that's known for kind of like surfers or people like surfing that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a big surfing destination. I don't surf, but it's a major surfing destination.
Okay.
Yeah, we're on a horseshoe-shaped bay here in town, and it's just beautiful. So it reminds me of St. John and the Virgin Islands, which is my favorite place. But that's super, super expensive there. And like you can't touch a shack for less than $1 million.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So here it's quite different. Things are very affordable. So
you're right. Sounds good. Well, as I kind of allude to, this is another, shall we say, country spotlight that I've done on my podcast. First one I had was with the realtor in Belize, another favorite, Caribbean country of mine. And I also wanted to highlight Nicaragua. I've kind of researched the country, the culture, the economy, the climate, everything. And I also followed along with your YouTube and newsletter throughout the years. But maybe just taking a step back, Natalie, for my listeners, can you give us kind of a brief background on yourself and how you ended up in Nicaragua?
Sure. I originally came here in 2004 with my now ex-husband.
Okay.
We were just looking for a vacation rental place, a cool place to vacation at a couple times a year, rented out the rest. We bought a place. A year and a half later, we got divorced, and I decided if I was starting my life over, why not do it here where I eventually wanted to be anyway, because I loved Nicaragua. He hated it.
Okay.
I loved it because it didn't have a Walmart, a McDonald's, a Taco Bell, all within, oh, my phone just moved, sorry.
No,
all
sorry.
within 5 minutes of me. And I loved it for that reason. He hated it for that reason.
Okay.
The one thing I love the most about this town is there are no American fast food chains, no American restaurants. It's all very, very much authentic. So, and a lot of international influence. So the cuisine here has got there's a lot of Italians, there's Germans, there's people from Israel. So the food here is just amazing on all the different restaurants and the different cuisines and stuff that we have available in town. So that's what I like about San Juan. It's very authentic. It's not influenced by corporate America.
Sure. Understandable. Yeah. So, okay. Now you had, obviously we're, approaching on almost 2 decades you've been in Nicaragua. Now, did you immediately get your real estate license, or did you already have your real estate license when you came in?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I've always been in sales.
Okay.
I sold home improvements for numerous years. I had my own company actually. I was always told I should get into real estate sales. However,
Okay.
never did it. When I moved here, I had a business idea and I ran it by the owner of the development where my ex-husband and I bought a house, and he liked my idea, but he said, nothing ever gets started quickly here. So if you want to help me sell the last 6 houses for sale, maybe you'll get lucky and sell one and have a little extra money. So,
Okay.
I ended up selling all 6 in 5 weeks, and he's like, hold on,
Wow.
I'll have more. And, so I started, that's how I got into real estate sales, purely by accident.
Okay.
But yeah, you don't need a license here, although I've gone through the licensing programs just for my education and to learn.
Okay.
But you don't have to have a license to be a realtor in Nicaragua. So,
Okay.
but being a legal resident is kind of important, especially if you want to own an office. Having your residency here is super important. So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. And maybe just a high level, you've kind of, touched base on, if you're looking to get away from the McDonald's, the Walmarts, American shopping malls, if you will. Why should someone, whether they're a, retiree, a digital nomad, an expat, whatever, why should they look at moving or invest in Nicaragua?
Because it's super safe here. The people are incredibly friendly. Kids can be kids here. Like the kids go to the beach, after school, you'll see parents like sitting around drinking, having a couple cocktails. The kids are just running wild on the beach. You don't have to always be like, oh, where's my kid? Where's my kid? Where's my kid? They're safe. We don't have problems with that, with pedophiles here and stuff. It's a very laid back community. Kids can ride their bike to the store. They're safe. But yet we have a lot of first world services now. We have fiber optic in my office. I have 100 megs service in my office. And I hurt my shoulder playing pickleball. We have a pickleball court now. And so it's kind of like itchy, owie. So I keep touching my shoulder. Sorry, but so we're getting more and more good services here from the US, kind of, comparable. So also with the internet service with the fiber optic, I get all of the US channels, movie channels, so I can watch ABC, NBC, CBS, any of that stuff I want. Netflix is available. So it's, everything is fantastic here now. 20 years ago, it was a little rougher.
Sure.
So, but over the years, everything has just improved and it's gotten better. And to me, it's a place, it's a great family place, and it's a great retiree place. Because like kids can be kids. They don't have to be shuffled to every event in the SUV. They can ride their bicycle places. They can do things on their own and you don't have to be like worried about your kids. Nicaragua is the safest Central American country, according to all the statistics that you see, as far as crime goes. We do have petty theft, though. It is a very poor country. So it's what I call crimes of opportunity. If you leave your cell phone on the table at lunch and go to the bathroom and you come back, it's probably going to be there, but there's a slim chance it might not be there. But I think that's like anywhere in the US. So anywhere you could do that. The other thing is violent crime is extremely rare. Like if you read the newspaper of any major city in the US, there's multiple murders every night. Here, we don't have that problem. It's crime. It's petty theft crimes is the majority of the crime that's here. And so as long as you take care of your stuff and you take care of yourself and you don't walk down the street by yourself drunk off your ass at 2 a.m, you're okay. I've done that and I was okay. But there's a possibility if you do something like that, you might not be okay.
Well, like you said, with the petty theft, I mean, I've traveled myself, to Mexico, Dominican Republic, even Cuba 4 years ago. And every tourist place resort I've been to, I mean, everywhere they always say, secure your belongings, don't leave them unattended. And,
Right.
even here, you're from Nicaragua, I'm in little old Marshall, Minnesota. And I
Uh-huh.
think I want to say 9 years ago, I had my car broken into. It had my iPod and GPS stolen. So, I mean,
Oh,
like you said,
yeah.
small crime, petty crime, or, crime of opportunity. I mean, that's going to happen, whether you're in a metropolis or tourist area or little old Marshall,
Hmm.
Minnesota. So,
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
It happens everywhere. So,
Exactly. So
yeah.
now you mentioned obviously, the kid friendliness, being safe. How does overall the kind of the cost of living compare at the time of this recording? I know here in the United
Hmm.
States, the median home value is about $400,000. Obviously, depending on where you live, cost
Right.
of living can be kind of high. How does that compare down to Nicaragua? Are you tired of the roller coaster of the stock market? The S&P 500 just had its worst start to a year in over 50 years. The Nasdaq is down 25%. The Dow is in correction territory, and past stock darlings like Netflix are down over 60% year to date. Why not invest in assets that provide constant cash flow and growth unrelated to the stock market? From private businesses to cryptocurrency, the options are nearly endless. I myself have invested in promissory notes, self-storage syndications, a Bitcoin mining fund, and even a teak parcel down in Nicaragua in my retirement accounts. IRAs, solo 401ks, even HSAs don't have to be constrained by traditional stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. And that is why I trust Amanda Holbrook and a specialized trust team with my retirement accounts. Reach out to Amanda today, 505-514-0587, or go to specializedtrustcompany.com for a free consultation today.
It's way less here. Like,
Okay.
a good example is with $10, I can go to local fruit and vegetable market, and the fruits and vegetables are vine ripened, so they're super fresh. They're not shipped in containers being pumped full of chemicals to ripen them.
Sure.
And that's the big reason I moved here. Was it's largely, it's not all organic, but it's a lot less chemicals than in the U.S.
Okay.
So I can go to the local market, and for $10, I can get a full grocery bag of fruits and vegetables.
Wow.
Yeah. Now imported things are expensive. I can buy a little bag of frozen blueberries for $10. So as long as you're like okay with the local produce, which is amazing, and you don't need a lot of the imported stuff, because when it's imported, it has taxes on it, and so that's why it costs so much more. But if you buy local, you can live here super cheap.
Okay.
I have a juicer, so I juice kale and lettuce and cucumber and celery and lime. That's the base of my morning smoothies that I have every day for breakfast. It's super, super cheap to eat, very, very healthy. So, and
Okay.
they raise a lot of beef here for export. So the beef is amazing. It's grass-fed beef.
Okay.
So so there's a lot of healthy things here. And a lot of the people here, your chemical exposure is much less in Nicaragua because people don't have the money for the herbicides and the pesticides or the chem lawn to come by and spray their yard every other week so it's beautiful green. So you don't have all of that chemical exposure here.
Okay.
Which is also one of the reasons that really attracted me to Nicaragua, was because I grew up on a big dairy farm in Pennsylvania in the middle of nowhere. So I grew up eating organic by accident. And I think it's been a major factor in my life, because I'm going to be 57 in November, and most people have no idea I'm that old.
I wouldn't guess either.
Yeah. So having a lifestyle that is more back to roots, back to basic, where you're not like in a city exposed to pollution all day, every day, stuff like that, is super important if you want to live a nice, healthy lifestyle. So, yeah.
So, yeah, it makes sense. In addition, obviously you mentioned, get it for, $10, you can get local, produce and vegetables. So, eating can obviously be relatively inexpensive. How does like the, depending on your situation, if you're renting a place or purchasing a place, what are the prices for those usually run?
Yeah, you can buy like a nice 3-bedroom ocean view home for around 250,000.
Wow.
More or less. Yeah, more or less. So,
Okay.
ocean front is going to cost you a little bit more. So it's kind of hard to get ocean front, but let me think of some of the ones that maybe recently sold, maybe like 500,000, 700,000 for
Okay.
something ocean front. So it also depends upon which beach it's on, how far from town it is. Like in San Juan, where I live, it's kind of an expat hub. So
Okay.
we have our own little bubble here. So we're 2.5 hours away from the capital. So it's not political here. And as expats, you're not supposed to be involved in politics.
Sure.
So we're probably like one of the more expensive cities to live in because like food and other services and rents in other cities are a lot less. But here, happy hour beer is $1.
Wow.
Yeah, it was $1 when I moved here. And so because the Cordoba, it keeps depreciating and
Yeah.
each year. So the price of beer in Cordoba has gone up every year, but because the dollar value has gone up every year,
Okay.
it's stayed the same. So beer is still $1 at happy hour.
Okay.
So yeah, it's super affordable to live here. I've got a 2-bed, 2-bath condo on the first floor in a development that's beachfront, but the condo isn't beachfront. And it has a oceanfront swimming pool with an infinity edge. You got direct access to the beach. From the condo itself, you don't have an ocean view, but it's only 170,000. So it's a 2-bed, 2-bath condo. And then I've got houses like on the hills with absolutely amazing views for 350,000, 400,000. A lot of my sales are under 500,000 and they're fantastic houses. So, and then I've got some stuff that's over 500,000,
Sure.
so, and they're just absolutely spectacular houses, but, it's just a great place for families to relocate to, retirees to relocate to. And then we've got quite a mix of people like in their early 20s and stuff. They're surf bums or just doing whatever to support their surfing habits. So,
Yep.
yeah, but if you work online, you can work here easily with the fiber optic internet that's available now. And it's really opening up the market for people.
All right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, and I don't know if this is maybe your area of expertise, and this is just what I've kind of gleaned from, reading and watching specials and stuff. But as I understand it, for those in the United States as well as elsewhere, now, if you're an American, residency in Nicaragua is relatively easy to get. However, citizenship is not, because Nicaragua doesn't recognize dual citizenship. Is that correct?
Yes and no. Residency is easy to get. It's like having your green card in the US. However, so you can't vote or anything like that. At this point, I only have my residency, but I am considering getting my citizenship, and I can have 2 passports. So, yeah. I don't have to give up my US passport to get a Nicaraguan passport.
Yeah, there's another. I know there was some blog or something I read that maybe it was a different country. If you were going to Nicaragua, but there's something in there like, nope, you got to choose Nicaragua or whatever it was, at least at that time.
Yeah. I've heard that before. I don't know where that comes from, but I know other people that have their citizenship here and they still have their original country passport too. So, yeah.
All right. Interesting. So,
but you can get your residency. It'll cost you around $2,000 on average, depending upon who you use to help you. And the other nice thing here is you really don't have to speak Spanish to move here. So there's, when I first came here, it was a lot harder because we didn't have internet everywhere. Now you have internet on your cell phone everywhere, and you can use the translation apps. And there's so many locals now that speak English to help translate for you and stuff. So yeah, like not speaking Spanish is not something that you have to worry about or a reason to hold you back from moving here, because you can get along just fine without speaking Spanish. So, yeah.
And you kind of alluded to this a little bit before, Natalie. Is the U.S. dollar widely accepted, or do you still have to do transfers to?
Yeah, you can pay anywhere in U.S. dollars here. They love the U.S. dollar. they'll give you change in Cordoba usually.
Okay.
So the change like that you'll get from a local store will be at a lower exchange rate than what you can get it at the bank. Not a
Okay.
lot lower, just a little bit lower. So it just depends. Like I get my money from the bank, just because I go through a lot of money
Sure.
because I manage houses, and so I'm always like paying, for repairs and workers and stuff in cash. And so getting the money from the bank, I get a higher exchange rate for that. So
Okay.
yeah.
Interesting. Now, as far as your real estate career, Natalie, are you
Hmm.
generally, or should I say majority, helping expats, or is it kind of a mix
Yeah.
of locals and expats, or?
No, the majority of my clients are expats from all
Okay.
over the world, though.
Okay.
Like this year, I've sold to a person from Germany, a person from Switzerland. I've got some other foreign clients that I'm
Oh,
working with.
wow. Okay.
Canadians are actually the largest foreign population here, larger than Americans.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, Americans, they're pretty close, but there's more Canadians than Americans. And, but it's people from all over the world. There's a
Okay.
lot of Italians here. So we have some fantastic fire oven baked pizza.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, we've got some really good Italian restaurants here. So, but yeah, it's just the dollar value is incredible. Like you can go out to eat and maybe spend for two people on a lavish dinner, $50.
Oh, wow. So,
Yeah, yeah. But
yeah,
you can spend way, way, way less. Like you can spend less than $20,
sure.
for two people and still have a nice dinner. So
Yeah.
yeah.
We're here in the U.S. Just last night, my wife and I went to good old Applebee's for the two of us. So it was about $50, and not
Uh-huh.
lavish by any means.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
meal there.
yeah,
So interesting.
yeah.
So all right. And how's the just kind of overall with 2022? I know you said you've helped clients, Germany, Italy,
Hmm.
Canada, and stuff. How many transactions have you done? Have you seen more,
Um,
condos or homes or?
yeah, the majority of my sales in 2022 have been houses, although
Okay.
lot sales are starting to pick up as the
Okay.
houses on the market have thinned out because so many people are buying. I've got more buyers than sellers. More people are looking at buying lots and building. So
Okay.
you can buy a nice lot for around 50 to 80,000.
Okay.
So you can buy a basic lot for, say 30,000, 25 to 30,000.
Okay.
But something with an ocean view and nice size, you're looking at around 50,000 for a lot. Sorry for the background noise. If
Oh
you
no,
hear
you're fine.
motorcycles, yeah, because my office is in town across the street from the ocean. So, but I'm sitting on my back patio right now because it's a lot quieter back here. But
Sure.
I love looking out my desk and across the street and seeing the ocean. So, but yeah, most of my sales this year are still houses, but I'm having a fantastic year. I have already sold $3 million worth of property this year,
Wow.
and it's not done yet. So
Well,
it's
congrats.
just it's just the end of August. Since I've been here, and I moved here full time in 2006.
Okay.
So since I've been here, I've sold 25 million in properties. So
Wow.
yeah, and we've had some bad years. When the world economy crashed, that affected us here.
Sure.
Not so much because Nicaraguans were upside down in credit. Like you pay cash for houses here
Okay.
because a bank loan is hard to get, and it's going to be 13% interest.
Yeah.
So 11 to 13%. So that's ridiculous.
Sure.
So people pay cash for houses here. So we weren't upside down, but what the world economy crash did was people still came on vacation, but they just didn't have the money to buy a property here.
Okay.
And then when COVID hit, that was my worst year. 2020 was probably my worst year here.
Yeah.
So,
Understandable.
yeah. And then 2021 really picked up because people wanted to escape the restrictions and the lockdowns and everything. And now 2022 is just people are bringing their families here. They're worried about the next lockdown, the
Yep.
next whatever. And so they're escaping here to get away from that. And this year is going to be my best year in, I think, a very long time. So
Nice.
yeah,
So, oh,
yeah.
congrats to you, and I hope that definitely continues. So,
Thank you.
um,
Yeah, I was like praying. Thank you, Jesus.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
one last question I had just in regards to
Uh-huh.
like the houses and the property, but how do
Yeah.
the like property taxes work in Nicaragua? Is it a certain
Yeah.
percentage, or is it
Hmm.
assessed, based on if
Yeah.
it's vacant or built on, or how does that work?
Yeah. The annual property taxes here are very low. They're 1% of 80% of the assessed value by the local government.
One,
And
okay,
the assessed values are typically low. So like I know people that have property that's say 500,000
okay,
and they're paying less than $1,000 a year in annual
wow,
property taxes. So your annual property taxes are very low, but your taxes up front when you buy a property
mm,
are on the higher side. You'll pay depending, there's a sliding scale. So the higher the value of the property, the higher the one tax goes. So
okay,
depending on the value, if it's like a $250,000 property, you're going to pay about 6%, 5 to
okay,
6% in addition to the price of the property. If it's
okay.
something higher, you're going to pay 8, maybe 9%. If you're up over 1 million of the value, in taxes up front. Oh, sorry, I have an alarm going off there.
Oh,
Forgot about that.
no
So
worries.
can you see me okay?
Yep, just fine.
Yeah,
So,
okay. All right, okay. So there we go. Now I got you back. Um, so the taxes up front when you buy a property are higher, but then your ongoing taxes every year are super, super low. So
okay,
that makes it super affordable to live here also.
right. So, well, and if the properties like you're saying, even a nice ocean view condo or house, 200,
Mm-hmm.
250,000, at that point, be like, okay, what's another 5, 6%? I'm sure your clients in Switzerland are
Yeah, yeah,
250,000 for them is probably pocket change compared to where
right,
real estate
right.
prices in Central Europe is.
Yeah, yeah. And like people tell me all the time, they're like, "Oh my gosh!" So like this house on the California coastline would cost me 3 million, and here
Yep.
it's 300,000 instead of 3 million. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Just before we hopped on, I was reading San Diego, and not even oceanfront per se, just San Diego in general was about
mm-hmm.
$670 a square foot. And obviously that, California is
Right,
a market that's been hit pretty bad the last 2 years. So who knows
yeah,
what it was pre-pandemic.
yeah, yeah. And here you can build a nice ocean view house for around $100 a square foot.
Okay.
So depending upon, what fixtures you want, what kind of countertop you want, what kind of floor you
Sure.
want, that kind of stuff. But $100 a square foot is kind of an average price here to build a
Okay.
nice house. So yeah.
All right. Interesting. So good. Anything I maybe should have asked you, Natalie, that I didn't,
Um,
or maybe you'd want
One,
to
yeah,
on
yeah.
Nicaragua?
Yeah. One of the other things about this town that are really, really special is the fact that we have offshore breezes, which means the breeze blows from the land out to the ocean. So you're
Okay.
not always covered in that sticky, salty sea air.
Oh,
Like
interesting.
I always loved going to the beach, except for the fact that I wore glasses and my glasses were always a disaster, when
Yep.
I was younger. And so I never thought I would ever want to live at the beach until I moved here, until I found this place. And I'm like, oh, the breeze is fantastic. So, because it blows offshore. Only about 40 days a year does it blow onshore. And that's usually when we've got like a storm out in the Pacific or something. The other thing is we don't get hit by hurricanes here.
Okay.
We'll get some rain from one but we're too far south. And so when a hurricane does come, it hits the northeast corner of Nicaragua. I'm on the southwest corner.
Okay.
And so the most that we get is some rain from a hurricane and that's it. So
Okay.
so it's an amazing place to live. It's kind of quirky. You've got such a multiple country influences from all over the world. So you see everything and anything here. Any style goes. And a lot of us tend to be very frugal. We wear, we go to places where they sell used clothing from the U.S. and stuff like
Okay.
that. So because buying new clothing here is expensive,
Sure.
and it's like, why do I want to spend $40 for a pair of shorts when I can spend 40 Cordoba, which is less than $2 for a pair of shorts, that some rich person in the US wore once or twice and then gave it to Goodwill.
Right.
So, so yeah, so it's, so yeah, so when I go back to the States to visit friends and families, I go shopping and I stock up on things that it's hard to get here, like my vitamins and things, and that I have to pay big import taxes on to buy here. So, but and there's delivery services here now too. So that also used to be a problem in the past. Like if you had certain things that you had to have from the US, like I would always ship them to clients of mine that were coming to look at real estate.
Gotcha.
and they would mule it down in their suitcase for me. Now we have several different companies that do deliveries. So and they handle getting it through customs and the taxes and all of that, and they bring it right to San Juan for you. So that way, if you've got certain medications or something along that line that you have to have from the US, you can still get it here now, which makes living here a lot easier also.
Interesting. Okay, good to know. So has a Amazon Prime drone come to your house yet, or is that still down the line?
No, drones are illegal here.
Oh, really? Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, you can there are some people that have them here. You can bring them into the country with permission.
Okay.
But you have to have the proper permission to bring in a drone. So, yeah.
Interesting. You don't need a license to be a real estate agent, but you need a license or permission to get a drone, I guess.
Go figure.
All right. So I'll just leave that as a weird quirk of the country. So
yeah. We've got some weird quirks here, but all in all, to me, it's way less stressful than living in the US.
Sure.
Like it's weird. When I go to the US, I get off the airplane, my stress just goes up and it doesn't go back down until I'm back on that plane and they shut the door to come back to Nicaragua. And then it's like I relax again. The other thing I love about here is the advertisement is not negative. In the US, like when I watch TV, all the advertisements are, oh, you have to buy this, you have to buy that because you're going to miss out, or if they use the fear factor to get you to buy stuff.
Missing out,
yeah. And here, because it's all in Spanish, I don't understand all of it anyway. And
that's one way.
So you're kind of oblivious to some of the stuff, and and I don't watch regular TV here, so I don't see the normal commercials, but yeah, you don't have that commercialism here that you have in the US. And Christmas here is not about the toys that you have to buy every kid. It's more about family and spending time with family and Jesus. And so, so the commercial factor here is way less. You don't have that. I have to keep up with the Joneses factor.
Sure.
So like people here, they don't care what you have or what you don't have. They just want to know, are you a nice person? Can you dance? And do you like to drink rum?
Okay.
And you're good.
I can't dance, but I love rum. So hopefully I'm okay. Sounds good. All right, well, in closing, Natalie, if any of my listeners, are interested to learn more about Nicaragua or following you, or maybe wanting to take the jump of either buying a place or just investing in Nicaragua, what's the best way to reach out to you?
There are several ways to get in touch with me. I have a huge YouTube page, which has got videos of houses and lots and events around town, walking all the streets in town and stuff. And that's just look up Discover Real Estate San Juan del Sur.
Okay.
And you'll find that on YouTube. My email address is Natalie, Natalie .Sullivan, SULLIVAN @Discover SJDS for San Juan del Sur.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. And then also I'm available on WhatsApp. So my WhatsApp number is +505 8803 2037.
All right.
So yeah, it's just plus, not +1, just plus.
Oh, just plus. 505.
Okay. So, yeah, plus 505, not +1.
Gotcha. Okay. Sounds good. And as always, for those listening, I'll have those in the show notes so you don't have to hit rewind, and hope you spell everything correctly. And you just click on the links and go right to either a YouTube page or the WhatsApp app.
Yeah. And then I have my website too. So that's Discover San Juan del Sur or Discover SJDS. So either one will get you to my website.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule, Natalie, to
You're welcome.
My listeners. And I actually learned some things about Nicaragua as well. And hope to maybe have you on the podcast at a later time to see how 2023 is treating you.
Sure, I'd be glad to do that. This is awesome. I
All
love
right.
sharing Nicaragua with everybody because it's just a magical place.
So, yep,
Yeah.
it's definitely my itinerary to visit one of these days. So maybe whether in 2023 or later. So
Yeah, come visit us for your anniversary.
will do.
So,
So, thanks, Natalie.
yeah, you're welcome. Have a good day.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to share, rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. For more updates, check out www.wealthandfreedomnexus.com. Remember, nothing on this show should be considered tax, legal, investment, or professional advice. This show is produced solely for educational and informational purposes. Please consult an appropriate and licensed tax, legal, real estate, or business professional for specific advice for your situation. For distribution or publication rights or media interviews, please contact the host.